Alrighty, we are back. What's up, you guys? Pongroomproductions coming back at it with another movie review. And we saw this movie a few weeks ago. We're a little late to the review, but we are reviewing Challengers,
Challengers,
starring Zendaya. Um,
Zendaya.
I wish I knew the other two actors' names.
I could look them up right now
Go
if you
ahead.
want.
Yeah, sure,
Okay.
sure. Let's
Oh
give some
crap.
credit. Let's give some credit.
Give me 1 second, gang. Challengers.
Challengers.
And the cast. We've got, of course, Zendaya plays the main character. Mike Feist is plays Art.
Okay.
And Josh O'Connor plays Patrick. And Zendaya, is that correct? Yeah, Zendaya's name is Tashi.
Is it?
Yeah, I think
Is
it's
it
Tashi.
based off of true events?
That's a good
Is
question.
It based off of
I thought that we're
actual
doing this right
athletes?
now. When in the middle,
Yeah.
a tennis player. No, I think it's all
fiction.
It's all fiction. Yeah,
Okay.
it's all fiction.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Let's go. Give us some reviews. Scoring right out the gate. On a 1 to 10 overall, I believe I gave this a 7. No. Let me dial it back. I'm gonna give it a 6. I'm gonna give it a 6. It was good to me. I enjoyed the tense build up all the way to the end, and the end is a absolute cliffhanger. They don't necessarily show you the end result. It's more or less of whatever you thought throughout the movie of who was the better tennis player, who was going to do what, because let's just tell them.
Yeah.
Basically, there's a love triangle. Two guys are going after the same girl. It starts off when they're younger. They're all 18, and then, of course, they go into college, and then the one guy kind of does a crappy move. He kind of plays devil's advocate and makes them all question if they're really into each other, and then it leads to arguments and a breakup, and then later on, a couple years later, he kind of slides in and then becomes the new boyfriend, and then eventually that leads to a whole family.
Yeah.
But later on in his career, it kind of like Zendaya was discovering she kind of likes a guy that has that it factor, that go for it, that like I'm not going to give up. And that's basically what her husband was doing, was like he
wanted to retire.
He wanted to retire, didn't love the sport anymore, was clearly just doing it to avoid, arguments, and then didn't really care that his career was almost a legacy career. And she kind of had an injury, and it evolved into a coaching type of management.
She lived through his, she really pushed him.
Yeah,
Really pushed him.
Yeah, was doing all
Like
the
a
phone
coach,
calls,
yeah.
all the meetings, all the tournaments set up. Yeah,
Micromanaging all of
but
that. Yeah.
what'd you think about the movie?
I'm going to give it a 6, which is not a bad score. It's better than average. If we usually do 5 as the average, so 6. It's a well-made movie. Great actors. All the actors were I think were very, very good in it. The direction, it's cool. It goes back and forth a lot, which can be a little confusing, but it's also very interesting. How in first, in the way which time era it is. They'll tell you, they'll show something on the TV, or they'll have different hairstyles, and you'll know which style is from 10 years ago.
Oh, also they had on college hoodies.
Right, yeah, you can tell. Yeah, they make it clear what time era it is, but it goes back and forth, left and right, jumping around. So the story's interesting. Acting is good. The soundtrack is really interesting. It's got a really driving. I think it's Trent Reznor did the soundtrack.
And you said he was from Nine Inch Nails.
The guy who did 9 Inch Nails, and then he's on his own, and he does a lot of movie composing now for soundtracks. Anyway, so the soundtrack's really interesting. It's like a electronica. If you know Trent Reznor, you know what it sounds like. But yeah, a 6. It's a decent movie. Yeah, I'll give it a 6.
What didn't you like about the movie? Because I can name a few things right off the bat.
I'm not a huge tennis fan, so that's probably that's probably one factor. I'm not really understanding what's happening. I can't really appreciate the tennis stuff. But some of it was really cool. I liked how. Are we giving away kind of spoiler things?
Yeah. It's
remember how the one guy, when he had his they both had their unique serve.
Yes.
One guy would put his arm behind his back, the bad boy,
like
would
a
do
tell.
That. Yeah, like a tell. and the other guy would always put the ball in the center.
Yeah.
And there's a gimmick in the movie, or remember when he's like in this signal, like I had the long story short.
Well, might as well tell him. When they were younger,
he's like, yeah, if you had sex with a girl in Zendaya, put the ball, like do your average, regular serve, and he does it to signal that.
He does it once.
He does it 10 years later, and he's like in the final match, and he's like, and they have an affair, they had like the night before they hook up,
right, and
he does it, and the guy's like, and he knows exactly, he knows exactly.
He put 1 and 2 together,
and he has to take a break, Well, it's a pretty interesting moment.
If you peep the detail, when Zendaya woke up, he was in the bed with her, and then she had snuck out. But then when she came back, he wasn't in the bed. He clearly was like, my wife isn't in bed where she was.
Yeah.
So she kind of knew. And
I don't know that he as soon as he saw the ball with the tennis racket, he knew exactly what happened. Yeah.
So let's talk about the main plot. Basically, Zendaya is juggling these two guys. She's at first with one. They're very similar, but they have different personalities. One's more of a bad boy, smokes a lot of cigarettes, doesn't necessarily go with the flow, likes to argue, likes to push back.
The other guy's more straight-laced.
The other guy's a little bit more easygoing, a little bit more emotional, kind of like not as pushy.
I wouldn't say easygoing. He seemed more uptight to me, actually.
Okay, we can say uptight.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. One guy had blonde hair, another guy had black hair.
Right.
And
they were different enough. Yeah,
they were different enough, but also strikingly similar. Both tennis players.
Both tennis players. All that kind of stuff.
All that. Both athletic builds. And it turns out, she's going to get with both of them, and then they kind of like each other also.
The two guys, you mean?
Yeah, because they're like friends, but they.
You think there's a sexual thing going on between the two of them? I don't know how.
Look,
I don't know what to say about that.
There's clearly something, because in the one
when they
scene,
started making out,
they were sucking face. And,
she kind of like tricks them, but then they're obviously just kissing each other, and it's
for like a minute straight.
And from my perspective, it's like I would know if I'm kissing a guy as a heterosexual man. I have nothing wrong with it.
They opened their eyes and they were like, "What?
What?
What?" And then Zendaya's like 10
feet. She's loving it, and she's like watching it.
Yeah. She was like, "I don't want to be a home wrecker." Remember that?
Oh yeah.
Because she was kind of testing the water on if they liked each other.
Because the one had a girlfriend.
Because it would be a whole jealousy thing, and that's exactly what it evolved into over the course of like 10 years and a marriage and a child.
Yeah.
Basically, Zendaya comes back years later. They both all run into each other at a tournament, by just sheer luck. And one guy isn't doing great, didn't necessarily secure a college degree, went immediate pro, then got old, didn't make that much money, and, now is kind of the struggling.
He's struggling, yeah.
Down and out, was good, but, needs to hang it up. And then same with the other guy who had a great career.
Now he's on the downward part of his career.
He wasn't that great to begin with, but got better as time went on. Almost had a great career, but, was just not exactly all there. And then, of course, Zendaya was the great one. And then
she had an injury
knee,
and
then, but luckily
and that was before she turned pro, right?
Yeah, and she fell back on like the she still stayed in the industry, but still had a better, an out for a career choice.
Yeah.
Long story short, she wanted her husband to want to be a great, and then he clearly just didn't love the sport of tennis anymore. He was
he wanted to rest, like you said. He was tired.
He was doing it to make her happy. And then the other guy wanted to actually win because he wasn't winning that much. So he was like, I need this.
Yeah.
And the other guy's like, I don't care if I win or lose. Yeah. And eventually she sleeps with the one guy.
The bad boy.
And tells him to purposely lose the final match. And then also tells the husband, if you're not going to win this, we're getting a divorce.
Yeah, yeah.
And
you
so,
win or you lose,
it hypes up the last game. But talk about the ending. Talk about the cliffhanger. We're at 9 minutes.
9 minutes. The cliffhanger is like they're like doing that thing in tennis again. So I'm showing how little I know about tennis, where they're like up close and volleying. Like they were up close, right? And they get right up on the net on each other, and they like
on a tie.
It's match point, and they both jump up to, I guess, slam on each other,
slam or block or something,
and they both kind of like leads to an embrace, and they like smile. Remember they smiled? It's like they're enjoying the moment, like they are kind of friends.
Yeah. Like it was like, can we settle this beef over a girl
I guess,
and get
yeah.
back to what we had, which was a friendship.
Yeah, that's what it felt like.
But then like it was like she also Zendaya in the audience as a viewer was like she stood up and audibly shouted, "Oh, come on!"
Right.
Which was basically
Was that where it cut then? The
it
end?
cut at the right after that. That was the ending.
It's like it was so much happening that I had trouble following it. Honestly,
Yeah, it was back and forth,
Yeah.
and of course, one guy throws a few points, starts to throw the game, and was clearly winning by I think 2 points, and then had a few purpose, and then one guy, he actually does get a point, so it's like he could.
It's hard to tell if he's throwing it or if he's being like legit.
And then he does the thing to psych him out, which was a long time ago. It was like, "Oh, just give me some details," and the guy's like, "I don't kiss and tell." And he's like, "All right, well, don't tell me, but tell me by doing something. Like if it's a yes, you do this. If it's a no, you do that." And then 10 years later,
he does the same thing to show, and
then he's like, "Oh man, it's like,"
and he like knows instantly what's going on.
Yeah, say it without saying it.
Right.
And I think the movie would have done good with a winner. You know what I mean? With an actual winner,
like an actual ending in a way.
I honestly, if we're gonna, let's say who we wanted to win.
Oh, interesting.
I wanted, first of all, Zendaya. Her character was the scummiest character.
You could argue
she
that,
was the scummiest. She
was
was married.
She had a kid.
She had a kid, and she was sneaking out, cheating, not once, but like a couple times while they were. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah, it was
a couple times. While she was married with a kid.
Yes, and he wasn't doing none of that. It seemed like a very much of he really did actually like her.
So who'd you want to? So who's your guy?
I wanted the dark-haired guy to win because it seemed like he was honestly doing nothing wrong from the start. He got her phone number fair and square. He went on the date, and then they started dating. Actually, he was saying in college, I think I really like this one. It might go the distance. And eventually, the other guy, the blonde-haired guy, snuck in, planted the seed of doubt in both of their heads.
That was a scummy move.
They argued, and then the argument led to a gigantic fight, and then the fight was, superseded by the injury, and then he was there with her in the hospital, and then it was very much a...
In other words, the blonde guy is not perfect either. He kind of slimes his way in the beginning.
Yeah. But then he's with her, throughout a whole family. But it's like you don't know what could have happened if he never was the one seeding the doubt. You know what I mean? Because
from my perspective, I kind of liked both of the guys. In other words, I was kind of rooting for both of them. I could see myself being cool with either scenario. I guess I have to lean towards the blonde guy.
Really?
Just because I felt more sorry for him, whereas the other guy,
because he was
the other guy did Zendaya mentions like the guy who's like struggling and he's like living in his car. He's kind of doing it like he doesn't really have to do that because it turns out he comes from a really rich family, and she says to him like, your trust fund, just dig into that, or just like go on your dad's board, at his company, and he wants to like live the gritty, struggling tennis guy. So in other words, if he really was down and out and like that, he was broke and on his ass and everything, then I might root for him more. But the fact that he's like just kind of doing it, I lean a little bit more towards the blonde guy with the family and the kid, I guess. I root for him to win. But I'm cool with either way.
Is it because he earned his money? Because he was actually winning and putting in the work?
Sure. You could say that.
If you're going to Yale, you're rich.
Also, it's humiliating.
Well, if you're not...
No, Stanford.
It was sorry, I thought it was Yale. I thought they said Yale.
Same difference.
Stanford,
They're both like big
Yale.
Schools,
Not Harvard.
Not Harvard.
Who's taken a couple stock hits these last couple years.
Yeah, the Ivy League is, whatever.
Allegedly.
We're not going to go into that. Allegedly. Right. Allegedly.
Anyway.
Right.
So you wanted the blonde guy to win?
Not by a millimeter. I could care. I really didn't care either way. I mean, I cared. I liked both characters.
My thing was the blonde guy was the one who started all the drama.
Yeah,
so I kind of,
you could say that. Yeah, I get it.
If he was just honest from the beginning, there would be no drama. You know what I mean? And it was just.
Where are we at right now? We got to be at like 15.
We are at 14. We'll end it.
What's your rewatchability?
Rewatchability for, I'm gonna go 5. I think I was gonna give it a 4. But now that we're talking about it, now that we're discussing the ending, I would like to maybe watch it again, knowing what happens, and then maybe seeing if I can spot a couple like coups or clues, or like, oh, I
sure.
didn't notice that and this and that.
I see that point. Yeah.
You know, like an Easter egg hunt.
I guess I'll give it a 5 rewatchability. Like I could go. It's like average. In other words, I could see it again. I could not see it again. Definitely, if someone said, "Hey, I want to see that," I'll see it. With
Okay,
you. Yeah,
5.
I'll see the reaction to it.
Would you click on it if it was on television? Would you? Be
I would
like,
click
oh.
on it, but then fast forward to the end.
Okay, yeah.
I would fast forward to the
to
end
just see what happens.
to see exactly.
That's the most important part.
Because I need to watch that again.
It's the last game, and it's the last game, and it had good build up. But honestly, the movie was a little long. They could
2 hours and 11 minutes. It felt long too.
Long.
Yeah,
They could have wrapped it up.
right.
Hour 45 would have totally gotten the same message across.
True.
All right, let's wrap this up. That's it.
Got it.
Go tennis.
Go tennis.